ये वाला जो सेक्शन है लेटर्स ऑन योगा, अभी इसमें लगेगा और बिकॉज बेसिकली सेम चीजें श्री अरबिंदो इज सेइंग, बट कभी कभार ऐसा एक सेंटेंस या ऐसा एक फ्रेज आता है विच गिव्स मोर क्लैरिटी. सो
हाँ
इट इज बेटर दैट बिकॉज आई मीन दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फंडामेंटल थिंग्स. सो एंड आई फील इट इज ग्रेस के साथ में ऐसे ऐसी चीज को पढ़ने का अवसर मिल रहा है. सो माय आइडिया एटलीस्ट इज के ये साइकिक बीइंग के बारे में, जीवात्मन के बारे में और जितना भी ये लेटर्स ऑन योगा पार्ट 1 में है, वी शुड रीड एज अ ग्रुप.
हाँ, या आई एग्री।
है ना? तो ठीक है. व्हाट वील डू नाउ, ये द सेंट्रल बीइंग एंड द साइकिक बीइंग करके जो है, वील जस्ट रीड दिस सेक्शन. ज़्यादा नहीं है, इट्स लाइक वन पेज ऑफ अ बुक. तो whoever wants to read, maybe Himanshu ji, would you like to read?
पर अनमोल भाई, पहले एक लास्ट पैराग्राफ बाकी था ना अपना।
नहीं, वो अपना हो गया था. We had
अरे
covered the last when the inmost knowledge begins to come. ये वाला we had
हाँ
covered.
हाँ, अच्छा ओके।
We had covered this. So
सॉरी, माय बैड।
no problem. Himanshu ji, would you like to read?
Yes, of course.
So just read this section, the central being and the psychic being.
Okay.
Okay.
The central being is above the Adhar. Most people are not aware of their central being, Jivatma. They are aware only of the ego. The psychic is the soul. It is a portion of the divine that supports the mind, life, and body in the evolution. The psychic gets the divine's help directly from the divine. The central being is that which is not born, does not evolve, but presides over all the individual manifestation. The psychic is its projection here. For the psychic being is in the evolution and from within supports our whole evolution. It receives the essence of all experience and by that develops the personality Godward. The self is at once one in all and many. One in its essence, it manifests also as the individual self, which may be described as in nature an eternal portion of the divine, in spirit, a center of the manifestation, individual but extended into universality and rising into transcendence. It is the central being above the evolution, always the same, that we call the Jivatma. The psychic being is the same in the evolution. It is the spark of the divine, there growing into its full divinity as a portion of the divine. The central being and the soul are both in different ways portions of the divine. They are in fact two aspects of the same entity, but one is unevolving above nature, the other evolves a psychic being in nature. The phrase central being in our yoga is usually applied to the portion of the divine in us which supports all the rest and survives through death and birth. This central being has two forms. Above, it is the Jivatman, our true being, of which we become aware when the higher self knowledge comes. Below, it is the psychic being, which stands behind mind, body, and life. The Jivatman is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. The psychic being stands behind the manifestation in life and supports it. The natural attitude of the psychic being is to feel itself as the child, the son of God, the Bhakt. It is a portion of the divine, one in essence, but in the dynamics of the manifestation, there is always, even in identity, a difference. The Jivatman, on the contrary, lives in the essence and can merge itself in identity with the divine. But it too, the moment it presides over the dynamics of the manifestation, knows itself as one center of the multiple divine, not as the Parameshwara. It is important to remember this distinction, for otherwise, if there is the least vital egoism, one may begin to think of oneself as an avatar or lose balance like Hriday with Ramakrishna.
Right. Thank you. So, Harish, we have just read this section from the beginning, the central being and the psychic being, these 5 letters, and now we'll just go through it again. The central being is above the Adhara. Adhara as a whole means the body, mind, life, taken as a whole. Okay, this is what the word Adhara means. And literally अगर आप देखें, धारा जो है आधार वर्ड में आ रहा है, comes from the धातु ध्री, which means to hold. So that which basically holds. There's another Himanshu. Himanshu ji, are you logged in by?
Yeah, I am connecting to my laptop actually.
Okay,
So,
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay. Sorry.
So, Anmol bhai, a quick question. I thought Aadhar is this chakra at the top. Is it that, or is it that happens to be the top is at the base is at the top? Is that the meaning of it?
No. Say again what you wanted to say.
Aadhar, ये जो Aadhar, the central being is above the Aadhara. Aadhar means base, right? Now, is it the Sahasrar chakra which is the Aadhar? In this way, is that the meaning of this?
Wait. आप कंफ्यूज हो रहे हो थोड़ा सा.
अच्छा.
आधार से very simply he means the body. Okay.
अच्छा.
इसीलिए मैं उसका मीनिंग एक्सप्लेन कर रहा था.
हाँ.
Aadhar here in one word as a whole means the body, mind, life as contained in the मतलब as the human being basically. ठीक है.
हाँ.
आ जाएगा समझ में. वेरी इजी, कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें.
Okay.
हाँ, आधार मीन्स द बॉडी, द बेस बेसिकली. आधार वर्ड का मीनिंग क्या होता है इंग्लिश में? बेस ना.
हाँ, the base.
ये
हाँ.
पूरा का पूरा आधार है. अप टिल हियर इज द आधार. ये पूरा आधार ही तो है. और इसके अंदर 3 शरीर हैं: स्थूल शरीर, सूक्ष्म शरीर, कारण शरीर. तो ये
Correct.
सब आधार है.
हाँ.
और
Okay.
इसीलिए आधार जितना फिट होता है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, if the mind is not stable enough or strong enough and there is an inrush of spiritual experience, it can lead to madness. Or if the vital is not stable enough, ठीक है, can
हाँ.
lead to, जैसे वो परमहंस की अवस्था होती है, 4 जो बोलते हैं, बालोन्मत्त पिशाच जड़वत.
हाँ.
बाल चाइल्ड लाइक,
Childlike.
रामकृष्ण
हाँ.
एग्जाम्पल. उन्मत्त मैडमैन लाइक. पिशाच
Demon.
लाइक.
हाँ.
जड़वत का बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल इज इन द
Inert.
भागवत पुराण. जड़ भरत, करेक्ट, इनर्ट.
हाँ.
तो all that is fine, and Paramhansa is a grade of realization, Sri Aurobindo says in the letters, but none of this is the goal of the integral yoga. ठीक है.
Okay.
इसमें वाइटल का परफेक्शन होना चाहिए. एक वो चाइल्ड लाइक इनोसेंस रहेगी. ठीक है. जहां तक जड़वत की बात है, अंदर एक टोटल साइलेंस रहेगा. ठीक है. उन्मत्तवत एंड पिशाचवत, not in that sense. The world might think that you are mad because you are not functioning from the ego anymore. But obviously you are, and in Sri Aurobindo, the way he teaches yoga, for yoga you need a great stability. Okay, ये एक बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस है. सो इन द ट्रेडिशनल योगास आप देखेंगे कि सम काइंड ऑफ इनबैलेंस इज इवन सेलिब्रेटेड. बड़ी तारीफ होती है, अरे देखो ये तो कितने नाच गा रहे हैं, ये तो कितने उन्मत्त रहते हैं. ऑल राइट, बट दैट इज ऑल बिकॉज यू आर नॉट एबल टू, जो आधार है ना, वही कमिंग बैक टू द वर्ड, इट इज नॉट एबल टू हैंडल द स्पिरिचुअल एनर्जी. इसलिए ऐसी कंडीशन हो रही है. दैट इज
I
नॉट
see.
द perfection of the integral yoga or the perfection of yoga. It might come as an intermediary stage during the practice of the integral yoga also, but that is certainly not the final aim.
Right. So that is this I have also observed. If you have been to Sadhguru's this thing, people start when the Kundalini rises, they suddenly start
Yes.
shaking, moving, trembling,
Even in
because
the
that
Shivratri program, you can find people doing it.
so that inrush
ठीक
of the
है,
energy is very high. So
energy is very high and it is happening.
the patra is not able to hold it.
करेक्ट. वो होता है, मतलब दैट्स
हाँ
ओके, वी शुड नॉट बी वेरी जजमेंटल. यहाँ
हाँ
ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि वो एक एग्जाम्पल के लिए दिया था. द
ओके ओके
अनबेक्ड जार ब्रेक्स डाउन, ये वेद का फ्रेज है. सो वही कि अगर वो परिपक्व नहीं है, अगर वो जार के अंदर इनफ हीट नहीं गया है, अगर वो जार जो है, जार मतलब इंग्लिश का वर्ड, अगर वो पका नहीं है अच्छे से, तो वो टूट जाएगा. व्हेन यू विल पोर द सोमा रस इनटू इट, दैट इज द वैदिक इमेज. That
यस
Somaras is nothing but the Ananda. So when the Ananda will come from above, so if the system is, the Aadhar is not strong enough, then it will lead to some kind of imbalance.
गॉट इट या
और ध्री धातु है, ध्री मतलब पकड़ना, टू
टू
होल्ड.
होल्ड हाँ करेक्ट
Same.
करेक्ट हाँ
It is coming from the same root. जैसे धर्म, आ is the prefix over here. Okay. आ
हम्म
is the prefix, the
हम्म
dhatu is dhri. So that which holds, ठीक है?
या
That which holds that divine energy.
गॉट
In
इट
the Brain of India, for example, he says that when
आधार या
the Aadhar is capable of holding as much energy as possible, matlab touching infinity, then
करेक्ट थ्रू
the
ब्रह्मचर्य
evolution of the man is complete.
हाँ
It's
थ्रू
an important
ब्रह्मचर्य
sentence.
हाँ
I will share it separately
हाँ
from
हाँ
this thing. ठीक है? I'll just make a note of it. ठीक है. Okay. तो ये है. What else regarding the word Aadhar and this? Basically, it means the body, mind, life. And आप जो बोल रहे थे, मतलब it comes from above, basically the spiritual energy, and this is supposed to hold it. हाँ, the second word, patra, वो use the vessel. So that is kind of, you can use it synonymously. But Sri Aurobindo does not use it. Sri Aurobindo always uses the word Aadhar. Okay,
या थैंक यू गॉट
that
इट
which holds. Aadhar means literally that which holds. So the central being is above the Aadhar. So it is above the head. It is above the Aadhar. It is above the body, mind, life. आधार को अगर आपको एक वर्ड में लेना है, मतलब इंग्लिश में, तो आप लीजिए बॉडी माइंड लाइफ. द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बॉडी माइंड लाइफ टेकन एज अ होल. ओके. Most people are not aware of their central being, Jivatma. They are aware only of the ego. Hmm? And this is obviously the practice of yoga. In yoga, ki when we become aware of the ego, to not indulge it, to eradicate it slowly and gradually. And I mean, as I had said earlier, the human nature is shot through with egoism, because that is what binds the lower nature together. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu kham mano buddhirev cha ahankara iti yamme bhinnaha prakritir ashtadha, 7.4 of the Gita. So it is the ahankara which binds together the lower nature. So if one wants to understand in all humility how much ego is there and how one has to so deliberately and so almost painstakingly uh, drive it out from the system, just open the PDF of record of yoga and search for egoism or ego or like this, and you will find Sri Aurobindo so meticulously find trying looking for traces of ego still remaining in him and getting it out of his system. Okay, so yeah, the central being is above the Adhara. Most people are not aware of the central being Jivatma. They are aware only of the ego. Hmm? The psychic is the soul. It is a portion of the divine that supports the mind, life, and body in the evolution. The psychic gets the divine's help directly from the divine. तो जो सेकंड सेंटेंस एंड फर्स्ट सेंटेंस वी आर क्लियर. एक ये थोड़ा सा थर्ड सेंटेंस पहले नहीं आया इस तरह का भाव, वो अभी आ रहा है. द साइकिक गेट्स द डिवाइन्स हेल्प directly from the divine. So it is in direct connection with the divine. What does it mean practically? If we have touched our psychic, for all practical purposes, we have touched the divine. Okay. Should I move on to the next one?
या
Okay. थोड़ा सा repetitive होगा, but as I said in the
Yeah,
beginning of the
Anmol bhai, just sorry, one question
no
before.
problem,
Since
no
here
problem.
the line is the psychic gets the divine's help directly from the divine, and it is the psychic which decides when to get the divine's help, right? Or
Decide besides ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, because it is not something mental. As and when it is needed, the help is coming directly.
Acha. Because that is why I was what I needed to know was, like, for example, in other like in the earlier letters we read, that eventually all the purushas will be controlled, right, by the psychic being, right, which are the three purushas which we read, right, which are the representatives of the jivatma. Eventually they'll be controlled. So in that sense, let's say, for example, just bit just be patient with the question, sorry about that. The soul, right? So when death happens of a young child or something, uh, it is not never death is never planned by anybody. No one can never plan unless it's a suicide. But otherwise, when the soul leaves the body earlier than the time, like, so is it the psychic that has decided to leave the
How do
body,
you,
or?
yeah, how do you know that it is earlier than the time? Maybe only that much prarabdha was remaining and
Ah,
it came for that short duration and left.
अच्छा.
Or maybe, I mean, I'm not talking about in childhood or infancy, but जैसे एक उमा बोस का एग्जांपल आता है श्री अरबिंदो के लेटर्स में. She was a great musician and all. She was
हाँ,
known to Dilip Kumar Roy. She passed away at the age of 21. So Dilip was very aghast and all. So Shri Aurobindo explained that it was her soul's decision, and in the circumstances of her life right now, it was best for her soul to depart right now. And that is what the soul chose. So
so it is the psychic being which chooses
yes,
when to
yes,
leave and when not
yes,
to leave.
yes. That's not
Oh,
the case with accidents. Accident is accident. I mean, वो उसमें जो एकदम झटके से वो
अच्छा.
बाहर निकलता है, that is another thing.
Okay.
But
Oh,
yeah, otherwise, it's a soul's choice.
अच्छा. Okay, yeah, that clarifies. Thank you. Yeah.
The purpose or the reason for which it was keeping the body, that purpose is over, so it leaves the body.
Makes sense
In the
now.
usual lifespan, if you want to understand, then it could not make more progress in this body. The instrument has become very wear. It is very worn out. वो कुछ हो
Hmm.
नहीं पा रहा. It is basically struggling. Kind of it
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
suffering in that thing. It is not able to make further progress. And that
When
is
you
why,
become jaded, so the psychic being can take a decision and leave.
yes, yes, it leaves then. When it is not able to make further progress, जब उसको और रसा नहीं मिल रहा है और essence नहीं मिल रहा है, for it is not able to learn more, to progress more, then it leaves. Or
अच्छा.
the life circumstances, again, same thing. They have become so frustrating that it decides कि no, this is too much. It is better that I leave it. Well, these are all very high things. They should not be said so casually. But essentially, this is what it is.
Okay. Okay. Except for accidents, as you said. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. The central being is that which is not born, does not evolve, but presides over all the individual manifestation. Okay. The psychic is its projection here. For the psychic being is in the evolution and from within supports our whole evolution. ये हम करते आए हैं. These two don't need explanation. It receives the essence of all experience. Yes. So whatever we experience, ये language पहले नहीं आई थी. So far whatever we have read. So it receives, it माने the psychic being receives the essence of all experience. उसका जो juice है, उसका जो extract है, ठीक है? And that is why it doesn't matter whether the experience is pleasant or painful. Okay. It receives the essence of all experience, and by that, this thing, essence, develops the personality Godward. Right? So it can make use of both, and it does make use of both pleasant as well as painful or unpleasant experiences to develop the personality Godward. For the psychic being, it is experience. The self, capital S, is at once one in all and many. Yes, वही जो ईशा के 6 and 7 हमने कोट किए थे. आत्मन वर्ड जो आता है उसमें, यस्तु सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मनि एव अनुपश्यति, that one. So the
Yeah.
self is at once one in all. The self is at once one in all and many. Yeah. So self in many is that वो okay, the self is in everything. वही जो three उसके self के poises है, we have done it so many times. The self is at once one in all and many, one in its essence. It manifests also as the individual self, which may be described as in nature an eternal portion of the divine. वही ममैवांशो जीवलोके, eternal portion of the divine. It is a indirect reference. Not maybe he's thinking of that, but that is the Sanskrit shloka in the Gita, 15.7. Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhutah sanatanaha. It is an Indian eternal portion of me that becomes a jiva in the world of jivas. It manifests also, which may be described in nature as an eternal portion of the divine. In spirit, a center of the manifestation. Individual, but extending into universality and rising into transcendence. Yeah. So this can be slightly, we can dwell on this. Okay. In spirit, a center of the manifestation. So the manifestation, ये थोड़ा सा मुझे इसमें clarity नहीं आ रही है कि in nature with capital N and in spirit, why he is writing like this. This also should have a meaning. Nature with capital N should ideally mean the higher nature, the divine mother. So maybe that is what it means. वो जो ना para prakritir jiva bhuta. So maybe it's referring to that. Or in spirit, a center of the manifestation. यही ना Sri Aurobindo की language is so precise and मतलब you have to sometimes you just have to read it and read it again and again, and then the meaning comes from within. Or
More by the first part before the semicolon is very clear. He's describing all the
before the
three
semicolon is clear. Yes.
Before the semicolon,
And
all the
nature
three.
with capital N, at least I am for now taking it to mean the Paraprakriti. Because it is the Paraprakriti which becomes the Jiva. So it is
because
in that Paraprakriti that it is there as an eternal portion of the divine.
And he's calling it as individual self. So that is
Yeah.
clearly the
Correct.
Jivatman.
Correct. Let's not pause too much because of this. इसमें कोई बहुत ज़्यादा वो नहीं है. In spirit, a center of the manifestation. That is clear कि जो अभिव्यक्ति होनी है, जो manifestation होना है, वो उसका एक केंद्र बन जाता है. बस वो just in spirit word जो है, वो उतना clear नहीं हो रहा है कि what exactly he means. I mean, it's not so easy, and I don't know. We need more spiritual realization to understand this. At least as of now, in spirit मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
Actually, I had read one letter, self, on just self. There he describes this. He says that the self itself, I forgot that 1 minute. I'm just, there is it is in self or Atman में है. जब भी वो
यहाँ पे he's not using that word. He's using the word spirit. And spirit, when he uses like this, it means Satchidanand. It means the divine.
I found it. The self, Atman, is in its nature either transcendent or universal.
Yes.
In bracket, he writes Paramatma or Atma.
Yes. That is actually the more important part of this, rather than dwelling too much on. So,
when it individualizes and becomes a central being, then it is Jivatman.
Yeah. We have read this one.
Then he says, essentially, it is one self with all others, but in the multiplicity of the divine, it is the individual.
This is not giving any clarity as to why the word in spirit is written over here.
Because I'll bring
clarity नहीं आ रहा है कि
नहीं देखो ना, an individual center of the universe.
वो ठीक है, but why is he writing in spirit? Spirit का यहाँ क्या पर्पस है लिखने का? आप जो कह रहे हैं वो तो यहाँ भी लिखा है. अगले वाले आप सेंटेंस में आगे बढ़े ना. इन स्पिरिट द सेंटर ऑफ द मैनिफेस्टेशन. क्लियर हो गया? ठीक है. स्पिरिट के अंदर, सच्चिदानंद के अंदर वो एक केंद्र है अभिव्यक्ति का, सेंटर ऑफ द मैनिफेस्टेशन. और उसके बाद इंडिविजुअल है. इट इज इंडिविजुअल but extending into universality simultaneously. That is what is the thing with the Jivatman. So even though it is individual, but it extends into universality and rises into transcendence.
So the word spirit here is like letter and spirit.
No, I don't think it is that. I think it is नो नो, इट्स नॉट लेटर एंड स्पिरिट, वो तो बहुत ही मतलब वो तो
अच्छा अच्छा।
कॉमन मीनिंग है इन माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग. आई डोंट थिंक इट इज दैट. इट इज रेफरिंग टू द डिवाइन इन स्पिरिट, बिकॉज वो नेचर बोले ना पिछले वाले में, तो स्पिरिट एंड नेचर दीज आर लाइक टू एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ दैट. राइट.
अच्छा अच्छा।
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, दैट्स ओके. Spirit means divine only. Spirit means Sachidanand. In the life divine, when he uses the word, so मतलब many times it means Sachidanand only. तो कोई इन डिवाइन यू कैन से इन स्पिरिट, वो आ जाएगा अपने आप कि एग्जैक्ट शेड क्या है इसका यहाँ पे, व्हाट डज ही एग्जैक्टली मीन. बट एसेंशियल चीज हमको समझ में आ गई है इसमें. वो क्या करें, द सेल्फ इज एट वंस वन इन ऑल एंड मेनी, वन इन इट्स एसेंस. इट मैनिफेस्ट ऑल्सो एज द इंडिविजुअल सेल्फ विच मे बी डिस्क्राइब्ड एज इन नेचर एंड इटर्नल पोर्शन ऑफ द डिवाइन. सो हु आर वी? जो इंडिविजुअल सेल्फ है, वी ऑल ऑफ अस, व्हाट आर वी? वी आर एन इटर्नल पोर्शन ऑफ द डिवाइन. इस चीज को अपने अंदर बैठाना चाहिए. ठीक है, जो प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट है योग का, थ्रू मेडिटेशन, थ्रू कॉन्टेम्पलेशन एंड क्या बोलते हैं उसको, निधि ध्यासन जो बोलते हैं उपनिषद में. व्हाट आर वी? वी आर एन इटर्नल पोर्शन ऑफ द डिवाइन. ओके. फिर नेक्स्ट पार्ट उसका, नेक्स्ट उसमें, individual but extending into universality and rising into transcendence. So even though we are, as an individual, we are an eternal portion of the divine, but yet we are extending into universality. In all of us, there is a part which extends into universality, isn't it? Something is happening in another part of the world and we are feeling this thing. Why? क्या जरूरत थी? Because the universal self is true. It's the same self which is in me, which is there, across the earth in South America, let's say, in somebody or somewhere, right? And at the same time, rising into transcendence. And yet there is something in me which is beyond everything, which is perfectly free, which is perfectly untouched. आज मैंने, while going through the recording of the previous session, I had shared that in man also there is the self which is untouched. Transcendent matlab beyond everything. It is perfectly free. And it is not bothered by anything. Matlab it is perfectly free. It is beyond the play. And from that freedom, basically you can say it supports the play. Right? ये Sri Aurobindo का एक तरह से, you could say, one of his trademarks, this trinity of the individual, the cosmic, and the transcendent. And all these three, we have to realize all these aspects of the self. That individual divine with know ourselves. Matlab, what does it mean in practical terms? Know ourselves, realize ourselves, feel ourselves as an eternal portion of the divine. Okay, one thing. Feel our universal self. उसके बारे में at one place he says, you feel commensurate with the universe. Commensurate माने of equal measure, or even exceeding it and containing the universe within yourself. Right? So that is that universal thing. And then there is that transcendent aspect, that perfect freedom. Perfect freedom. Nothing, no one can challenge that freedom. वो inalienable freedom है. Inalienable is one of Sri Aurobindo's, not favorite, but yeah, one of his oft used words. So that freedom which cannot be taken away. Its definition is that, right? That is what is called transcendence, beyond everything, beyond all formulas, whatever you can imagine or think, it is beyond that. That is us. That is why we will continue to remain a mystery to ourselves also. And it's only as the manifestation proceeds that basically we are knowing ourselves. That transcendent aspect is a mystery to itself. And through the manifestation, it knows itself. And no matter how much it knows itself, there is still further more to discover, to reveal basically. I mean, isse zyada, I also don't understand the transcendent, but this much. Okay. If anything, otherwise, shall we move to the next letter?
Yes, please.
Oh. It is the central being above the evolution, always the same, that we call the Jivatma. So, okay. The psychic being is the same in the evolution. Okay. It is the spark of the divine. They are growing into its full divinity as a portion of the divine. This ideas we have read several times during the last 5-6 sessions. Yeah. Yeah, next. The central being and the soul are both in different ways portions of the divine. They are, in fact, two aspects of the same entity, but one is unevolving above nature, the other evolves a psychic being in nature. Again, here he has used these three terms: central being, soul, and psychic being.
ये साइकिक बीइंग इन नेचर एन स्मॉल होना चाहिए था ना, इधर एन क्यों
हाँ,
बड़ा
वो
है?
मेरे को भी नहीं समझ में आ रहा है वो। बेसिकली नेचर, वही नेचर माने मैनिफेस्टेशन। तो जब वो मैनिफेस्टेशन शुरू होगा तभी तो वो इंडिविजुअल सेल्फ आएगा। मे बी दैट इज व्हाई ही सेड दैट इन नेचर इट इज एन इटर्नल पोर्शन ऑफ द डिवाइन, whereas in spirit it is individual also, universal also, transcendent also. तो दिस आई एम ऑल्सो नॉट एबल टू। और कभी कभार कैपिटल स्मॉल का वैसे श्योबिंदो तो ऑब्वियसली व्हेन ही वाज यूजिंग इट, ही वाज यूजिंग इट परफेक्टली कॉन्शियसली, एंड इवन द पब्लिकेशन ऑफ द आश्रम इज मतलब almost perfect, 99.999% perfect. तो मस्ट हैव अ मीनिंग, बट कभी कभार समझ में नहीं आता है कैपिटल स्मॉल का। तो बट बेसिकली साइकिक बीइंग नेचर से मतलब टेरेस्ट्रियल नेचर है। साइकिक बीइंग इज पार्ट ऑफ द टेरेस्ट्रियल नेचर। सो हियर ऑब्वियसली बाय नेचर विद कैपिटल एन ही मीन्स द टेरेस्ट्रियल नेचर, द अर्थली नेचर,
अपरा.
अपरा। Nature itself is a big thing. Nature is like supreme. We are all subservient to nature. So, I mean, in that sense, if you want to use a capital
हाँ.
for it to kind of, respect it as a goddess, nature is the executive power of the Divine Mother, as he says in the 6th chapter of the Mother. So, it's like everything, it's supreme. Nature, उसके आगे किसकी चलती है? Like that. और आई थिंक आई मेड अ मिस्टेक बाय सेइंग कि वो कैपिटल एन जो है इट मींस द परा प्रकृति। श्री अरबिंदो इतना सटलिटी नहीं करेंगे। इफ ही वांट्स टू से ही विल से हायर नेचर एंड ही विल से लोअर नेचर। ही विल नॉट लीव इट टू द दिस थिंग डिसाइपल्स। वो कैपिटल स्मॉल और कैपिटल एन और स्मॉल एन से हायर नेचर और लोअर नेचर में डिस्टिंग्विश नहीं करेंगे। श्री अरबिंदो इज नॉट दैट काइंड ऑफ पर्सन। when this is such an important point, he will add the adjective higher and lower before it. That is what he would do. मतलब मैंने उनको जितना पढ़ा है, this is what I have seen. So nature here simply means nature, जिसका मतलब of which we are a part. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, the phrase central being in our yoga is usually applied to the portion of the divine in us which supports all the rest and survives through death and birth. Okay. This central being has two forms. Above, it is the Jivatman, our true being, of which we become aware when the higher self-knowledge comes. Our true being. Okay. Below, it is the psychic being which stands behind mind, body, and life. Yeah. Basically, in previous letter, he was saying central being, soul, and psychic being. यहाँ पे the phrase central being, so that you have to be a little flexible. कि central माने psychic being is a central being from the point of view of evolution. Okay. एंड इट इज द सेंट्रल बीइंग, वही तो कोर है। वो ठीक है, ऊपर वाला जो है वो ट्रू बीइंग है, बट यहाँ पे तो सारे के सारे नेचर को साइकिक बीइंग ही सपोर्ट कर रहा है ना। सो दैट्स व्हाई सेंट्रल इन दैट सेंस, फंडामेंटल, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट और केंद्रित, जहां से चीजें निकल रही हैं, जहां जो सारी चीजों का इंचार्ज है, फ्रॉम वेयर द होल थिंग इज हैपनिंग, व्हाट इज द ट्रू थिंग इन दैट सेंस। सो इट शुड नॉट कंफ्यूज। The phrase central being in our yoga is usually applied to the portion of the divine in us which supports all the rest and survives through death and birth. This central being has two forms. Above it is the Jivatman, our true being, of which we become aware when the higher self knowledge comes. Yeah. Yeah. Below it is a psychic being which stands behind mind, body, and life. The Jivatman is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. The psychic being stands behind the manifestation in life and supports it. If one just wants to remember one sentence, this is one sentence that one can keep in mind. मैंने ये kind of memorize हो गया था पढ़ते पढ़ते. This is the distinction between the two. The
हाँ, ये
Jivatman is,
paragraph is very clear, extremely clear. This
yes.
paragraph.
The Jivatman is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. ठीक है, अध्यक्षता करता है. The psychic being stands behind the manifestation in life and supports it. But they are basically two aspects of the same entity. अब ये बहुत important है. We had mentioned this sentence earlier, but very important sentence. The natural attitude of the psychic being is to feel itself as the child, the son of God, the bhakta. The natural attitude of the psychic being is to feel itself as the child, the son of God, the bhakta. अपने आप को ईश्वर का अंश समझना, उनका बच्चा समझना, like that. Here in this sentence, मतलब ये जो है, पहले I used to get confused. I'll share honestly कि earlier I was reading this word child here as eternal child. Okay, so there is an aphorism of Sri Aurobindo wherein he says, "What is God after all? An eternal child playing an eternal game in an eternal garden." मतलब it's a very relatively popular aphorism. But the way the sentence is structured, the natural attitude of the psychic being is to feel itself as the child, the son of God. So the child of God, the son of God. Again, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Son of God is obviously totally clear. But when he says child, does it mean कि हमारे अंदर जो बच्चा है, and I mean अगर बच्चा है तो किसी का होगा. But basically that, I mean, not to confuse, but you know, that childlike quality inside us, right? It is the natural attitude of the psychic being to feel itself like that.
Yeah, that is why he's saying na bhakta also after that. So I think it's more about the attitude of a child or
Even I feel.
or the sort of
But
dasatva
the way
type.
the way the sentence is structured, na, you can
Yeah.
take it as meaning the child of God, the son of God. So जो of God phrase है, that is being applied to both son as well as child. But then it
हाँ.
doesn't make sense because अगर child बोल दिया तो son बोलने की क्या जरूरत है? Because son तो फिर further specify किया, child can mean son or daughter. Then why do you need to say that? Isn't it? So, I mean, this is
पता
possible.
नहीं
I have
आपने.
thought about this sentence like tens of times. But yeah, the
When?
logical conclusion is कि, you know, that childlike attitude हमारे अंदर जो वो, you know, जैसे आजकल
हाँ.
है, even in sort of modern spirituality and all, they say that discover that inner child. You know, one of the ways of coming out of a depression or whatever, जैसे वो सिखाते हैं, that inner child. वो inner
And
child
the
therapy भी कराते हैं कुछ लोग. I don't know.
पता नहीं, but the word
The third.
bhakta means very simple,
The third,
simplicity.
correct.
The term itself involves that simplicity in it,
Correct,
no?
correct,
मैं
correct,
तो I'm not reading much, but just simply the attitude
correct,
of child is
correct,
how I'm reading
correct,
it.
correct. Feel itself as the child. So, you know, that childlike playfulness, that innocence, all the qualities which a child has. The son of God. ये बहुत important है. We are his sons. We are sons of God and must be even as he. Savitri की जो line है, right? It's the natural attitude. So, whatever is in us that feels itself as that child, that son of God, that is the psychic being. That feeling is coming from the psychic being. Whatever in us feels itself as the bhakta. If tears of devotion are coming, if we are feeling the pangs of separation from the divine, from our origin, our source, this feeling is coming from the psychic being. The bhakta. A bhakta may again, I mean, good to emphasize whenever there is an opportunity. The true bhakti is what is called Shuddha Ahaituki Bhakti. So pure motiveless devotion. You do not love the divine because you want something from him. You love him simply because he is he and you are you, and it cannot be otherwise, and you cannot help it. That is the true bhakti. You love him simply because he is he and you are you, and that's it. You cannot help it. It is absolute. There is another very beautiful letter of Sri Aurobindo, वो तो अलग है उसमें, but there is a phrase in that. It says the categorical spiritual imperative, the absolute need of the soul for the divine. ये exact है verbatim. I'll repeat. The categorical spiritual imperative. Okay. The categorical spiritual imperative, what is it? The absolute need of the soul for the divine. शरीर को जितनी आवश्यकता अन्न की है या पोषण की है, नरिशमेंट की है, उससे भी ज्यादा एब्सोल्यूट नीड सोल के अंदर डिवाइन की है. दिस इज व्हाट हैज टू अवेकन. दिस इज दैट साइकिक अवेकन. राइट. सो अगेन, I mean, psychic वाइकिक कितना पढ़ रहे हैं, now we have come to this amazing sentence. This is like, I would say that from all this study of Jivatman psychic being soul spark that we have been doing, मतलब one of the takeaways from these sessions for everybody should be ये sentence दिमाग में हमेशा रहना चाहिए. The natural, this I'm saying from my side, personally what I do to try to remember this, the natural attitude of the psychic being is to feel itself as the child, the son of God, the bhakta. So now it gives us a clue as to how to discover and realize that psychic being. What are the clues that we are getting? Bhakti. मैंने पहले भी कहा था. All the ways of bhakti that we know. नवदा भक्ति जैसे रामचरितमानस में डिस्क्राइब्ड है, भक्ति सूत्र, मदर के प्रेयर्स एंड मेडिटेशंस. I mean, Alokda in the ashram here says that they are superior even than the Narad Bhakti Sutras. Of course, I mean, the guidance that is there in them is just unbelievable. So, through them, synthesis of yoga, mein, there are 8 chapters on bhakti. Letters on yoga, mein, there is a section. Any nama japa is one of the ways of bhakti. Kaise bhi karke. By whatever, to develop that bhakti. Love for the God, love for God, love for the divine. पूजा अर्चना जितने भी वो तरीके होते हैं नवदा भक्ति में, एंड वट एवर, थिंकिंग ऑफ हिम लविंगली, being grateful is one of the simplest things that we can do.
Yeah.
And when we
Gratitude.
eat, like he says, when you eat, you should offer your food to the presence within you. It should be a sacred offering in a temple, and the sense of a mere sense gratification should pass away from it. This is not the exact sentence, but almost exact from the synthesis of yoga. So like this, involving the divine in all actions, like this, the love for the divine increases. By serving the divine. Bhakti increases by service. I mean, this is not a class on bhakti, but you know. Like
Mother even says it's one of the places that, you know, crying.
Sorry, can't hear you.
Also. And
sorry, your voice broke in between.
Many people come to me, wanting this, that, crying, and then, but very few come and even thank and know how to be happy.
Correct.
If you are happy and even thankful, I'm very happy.
Correct. There is a writing by Mother wherein there are several qualities which come one by one. In the very end, gratitude comes. And when he comes, he's very unacknowledged, as if, koi stranger aa gaya, because it doesn't come. It's very rare for gratitude to come like that. मुझे exactly नहीं याद आ रहा है, but it is there. So gratitude is a rare thing. That is what she is trying to show through that story. Son of God. So, why? Identifying yourself as the son of the divine. Our physical parents are the parents of our physical body. But who is the mother and father of our true being, our soul? That is the divine and the Shakti. I mean, Sri Aurobindo and Mother are the incarnations of that, right? Child, that innocence, that playfulness, that all children are naturally in a state of delight, giggling away and laughing away without any reason. That is the state. Of course, it has to be inside. It's not that you should be giggling and laughing away all the time without reason. But वही जिसको आत्मरति बोलते हैं, you're just delighted within yourself. आप अपने अंदर ही खुश हैं. Everything and everything is a source of delight for you. You are seeing water running and you are laughing. You are seeing a flower, anything, matlab. I need not go into examples. This is, all very basic and simple things, but basically, yeah, that bringing forth of the psychic. उसके लिए is a very important sentence. Very, very important sentence. It is a portion of the divine, one in essence. Yeah. One in essence, but in the dynamics of the manifestation, there is always, even in identity, a difference. Because manifestation ka matlab hi it's the play of the many. So if the difference is not there, then how will the play happen? You have to pretend to be different. Na? You know you are one, but still you have to pretend to be different. Otherwise, how will the play happen? For the play, duality or multiplicity is needed. The Jivatman, on the contrary, lives in the essence. Yeah, this is the difference. ये पहले भी हमने cover किया था. The Jivatman, on the contrary, lives in the essence and can merge itself in identity with the divine. So as long as, sorry, 1 minute. The Jivatman, on the contrary, lives in the essence and can merge itself in identity with the divine. But it too, the moment it presides over the dynamics of the manifestation, knows itself as one center of the multiple divine, not as the Parameshwara. Yeah. Because the Jivatman does not come down, no? That's why it lives in the essence. The psychic being, because it comes down here, so
would one center be Ishvara then?
Sorry?
Would one single center be Ishvara then?
Once you have total control over your body, mind and life, then you can call yourself your own Ishvara. आप परमेश्वर और ईश्वर में डिस्टिंग्विश कर रहे हैं ना?
हाँ.
So true, very true. If you have gained complete control over your body, your vital and your mind, then you are the Ishvara for this particular manifestation. But that complete control means complete control. Whenever I want to leave the body, I can leave it. I can just drop it off like this. Okay. No, nothing will come in my mind which I don't want to come. No desire can invade me which I don't want. So that full control, if you have, then you are the Ishvara. And there are people who have attained to this status in the history of spirituality. In fact, since you're saying this, so 15.8 of the Gita, the word that is used for the soul there, suddenly after the previous verse where the word Jiva is used, the word that is used in 15.8 is Ishvara.
Exactly, that is what reminded me, because in 15.8 itself,
Jivaloke, Jiva Bhutah Sanatanaha, Manah Shashtanindriyani, Prakritisthani Karshati, Shariram Yadavapnoti, Yachap Yutkra Matishvaraha, Grihitvaitani Samyati, Vayur Gandhani Vashayat. So there the word that is used is Ishvara. But वही वो ईश्वर सुनने में और फील करने में तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है क्या, बट वो बनना पड़ेगा ना. That requires tremendous sadhana. Swami word जैसे लगा लेते हैं, तो ideally the word Swami can be applied only to somebody who has attained full Swamitva over his nature. If you have not, then you have no right to call yourself a Swami.
स्वराज नहीं मिला तब तक क्या स्वामी बन सकते?
So Swami Vivekananda is a Swami. Even he sometimes did not have control over his anger. He मतलब cursed himself कि यार मेरे को इतना गुस्सा क्यों आ जाता है. तो अगर आप उतना एकदम strict sense में देखें तो even he was falling short of that. But वही transformation of nature, ना, that's what Sri Aurobindo says. कि it's not so easy. So in order to have मतलब full deserving of the title.
But he was a ansha of Rudra himself, no? So he will have the Raudrik nature.
Exactly. मतलब वो तो मैं एक example दे रहा हूँ बहुत ही extreme करके, but so you are Ishvara if you have gotten that full Ishvaratva over yourself. अगर वो full mastery हो गई, otherwise only name. Yeah.
Thank you.
And 855. The Jivatman, on the contrary, lives in the essence and can merge itself in identity with the divine. But it too, the moment it presides over the dynamics of the manifestation, knows itself as one center of the multiple divine, not as the Parameshwara. Obviously. वही है क्लैरिटी के लिए कि हम में से कोई परमेश्वर नहीं है. We are all jivas. We can merge, जैसे यहाँ लिखा है. What does he write over here? We can merge ourselves in identity with the divine. We can merge. And then that individuality is for the moment not there. But the moment we come back to our individual manifestation, that individuality is there and we know ourselves as a center of the divine, as a center of the Parameshwara. Yes. When I say this, I should add कि it's not that वो कहने वाली बात है, पता है. Again, these are things of spiritual experience. In mental language, you can only give so much clarity, not more. So, जैसे इस वाले यहाँ पे आया था, this sentence. In spirit, a center of the manifestation, individual but extending into universality and rising into transcendence. So, when you are coming back here and knowing yourself as one center of the multiple divine, it does not mean that you have lost the transcendence and universality. That is there. So that universality and that transcendent and that sense of being an individual center of the divine governing this particular manifestation, all are there simultaneously. That is the magic of that consciousness. You know that nothing can bind you. You're perfectly free. You're beyond everything. You are universal, ekdam vast infinity. And yet you are presiding over this particular manifestation. And this is the role that you have to play in the cosmic play. Right? It is important to remember this distinction. Yeah. The distinction between the Parameshwara and the individual self. For otherwise, if there is the least vital egoism, one may begin to think of oneself as an avatar. वही जो मैंने बताया था ना, गीता के 16th चैप्टर में आता है, अमंग द आसुरिक क्वालिटीज, ईश्वरो हम, अहम भोगी, सिद्धो हम बलवान सुखी. आई एम ईश्वर, अहम भोगी, आई एम द एंजॉयर. ईश्वरो हम, अहम भोगी, सिद्धो हम, आई एम परफेक्ट. बलवान, आई एम पावरफुल. सुखी, आई एम हैप्पी. हु इज देयर इन फ्रंट ऑफ मी more great than me? All that is asuric nature. Right? Think of oneself as an avatar. जैसे इसका एक एग्जाम्पल है, in the life of Krishna there was a fellow called Poundrak Vasudev. So this kingdom of Pundra, somewhere near Bengal, Odisha Bengal से border करता था. So he was, वो fake था obviously, but he was saying that no, I am the real Vasudev. I am the avatar. The Krishna of Dwarka is fake, and then Krishna had to come and basically kill him. Poundrak Vasudev. So just एक एग्जाम्पल माइंड में आया, so sharing it. हिरण्यकशिपु, मैं भगवान हूं. किस विष्णु की पूजा कर रहे हो? मैं भगवान हूं और कोई भगवान नहीं. ऑब्वियसली आसुरिक. राइट? and see, when spiritual experience starts happening, power can start coming. That's why Sri Aurobindo says कि पहले peace का base बनाना चाहिए. First, let there be a foundation of peace and silence, and that stability which comes from peace and silence. Then only the higher things can come. But still, when the power will come, then there can be this tendency. These are all the pitfalls of yoga. कि मैं तो खुद ही भगवान हूं. One can, there is the least vital egoism. So what is the sadhana? To eschew out egoism from every strand of our being, from every corner and crevice. उसको ढूंढ ढूंढ के यहां से खदेड़ना है egoism को. This is the sadhana. Right? Or lose balance like Hriday with Ramakrishna. This he is referring to an incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Hriday was his nephew who was looking after him in one of the most intense periods of his sadhana. How many years he stayed with him, I don't remember. Basically, Sri Ramakrishna was, I mean, he was an avatar, and he was sometimes in states like, for example, for 6 months, he was in a samadhi or trance like state where he was not even conscious of eating food. So a yogi was there, Totapuri, जिन्होंने उनको initiate किया था into that kind of meditation, and he was putting some morsels of food forcibly into his body, and that's how the body was surviving. So similarly, in another phase, Hriday was there looking after Ramakrishna. So he was a nephew of Ramakrishna, उनके बड़े भाई का बेटा होगा शायद, and Ramakrishna touched him, कुछ उनको वो experience कराया था, and he started saying, this is what I remember, मतलब not very accurately, but basically कि oh you are Brahman, I am Brahman. Hriday started saying like this कि वो आप भी ब्रह्म है, मैं भी ब्रह्म हूँ, ये सब कुछ ब्रह्म है, like this. But it was simply through the touch of Ramakrishna, and वो मतलब he basically started thinking of himself, and उसको लगा कि उसमें और रामकृष्ण में कोई फर्क ही नहीं है, मतलब, and his soul obviously was nowhere near the level of maturity of Sri Ramakrishna. So that is what he's referring to. Lose balance like that. So, that's why balance is one of the most important words which you will find in Sri Aurobindo's guidance for the practice of yoga. Balance, balance. The integral yoga is based on balance, not on an unhealthy need to suffer. Somewhere this sentence is there. So peace, 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 peace. All this knowledge that we are gaining, even intellectual knowledge, doesn't matter. All this will give that stability, that peace. And basically that stability. Ki we avoid as much as possible these pitfalls of yoga.
Can you repeat the shloka number, Anmol bhai?
Which one?
Which one? Vital egoism का जो श्लोका था वो बलम क्या था वो number?
Ishvaroham aham bhogi, that one.
हाँ.
18. I didn't tell the number. No, it's in chapter 16. ऐसे कई सारे श्लोक हैं उसमें, आसुरिक प्रवृत्ति के ऊपर ज्यादा हैं.
अच्छा.
हाँ, ईश्वरोहम अहम भोगी. It's a half a verse. Chapter 16, verse number 14.
अच्छा. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So 9:3. Okay. So should we stop here for today?
Yeah.
ज़्यादा लोग हैं भी नहीं.
And
We have
as you said, no, even when you had begun this session, why should we study the scriptures? वो वाला आपने भेजा था. In that, we should read philosophy. Why should we study? That's the one I'm.
हाँ, वो लाइफ डिवाइन के उसमें आता है.
हाँ.
Why should we study scriptures?
Why should we study philosophy? I think it is like that.
It brings a stability. I'll share the quotation.
It brings the stability of the mind. That is exactly what you referred right now.
I'll read it. I think I have it.
I too have it here.
One second. Acha, you have it?
1 second, let me. The lower knowledge is preoccupied with appearances and workings. In proportion as we become more mental, we attain to a subtler action of our whole nature, which becomes more apt to reflect and receive higher thoughts, a purer will, a less physical truth, more inward influences, the power of ethical knowledge, and the ethical habit of thought and will to purify is obvious. Philosophy not only purifies the reason and predisposes it to the contact of the universal and the infinite, but tends to stabilize the nature and create the tranquility of a sage. And tranquility is a sign of increasing self mastery and purity.
Correct.
Synthesis of Yoga, page 516.
Yes. If you can share the thing.
Yeah.
If somebody can remind me which is the quotation I had shared, I said I will share. In the beginning में बोला था, but I did not note it down. So just for that, I will have to listen to the recording from the beginning. Can somebody remind me कि मैंने क्या बोला था कि ये मैं डाल दूंगा ग्रुप पे? Otherwise, I'll see the first 5-6 minutes में था. Okay.
Yeah, just pasting it.
No problem. ठीक है. we'll just close with silence. Okay, good night. Thank you, everybody.